Hi, this is Terry. Welcome back to my channel. Finn and I were just having a conversation about spicy spouses, which ties kind of into, actually it doesn't tie into today's conversation at all. Back in September, I launched the Piloting Your Life at the PYL Book Club. For those of you who are new to my channel, I wrote a book called Piloting Your Life, and I love to read books, and I'm working on book number 2, and what better way to work on a book or procrastinate writing a second book than reading and researching by reading other books. So in launching the book club, the idea was that I would read a book in support of the research for book number 2. Originally it was going to be a nonfiction. It is now since shifted to a fiction. So while I started with a nonfiction, Big Friendship, and then went to The Pleasure Plan, and then Unapologetically Ambitious. I then shifted in December to just reading, whatever sounded interesting. It was supposed to be 1 book a month. And then in January, I was reading a ton, and so we had a bunch of bonus books. So January, February, March. Actually, I think there have been 16 or 17 books since September when we launched, and I'm always open to new books. So if you have some of, what are you reading? What are some of your favorite books? What should we be adding to the list in order to share with others? Today, what I want to do is talk about a couple of them that I've really enjoyed, and then I also want to talk about a couple that I wasn't able to finish. It used to be that I had to finish books that I started. And then, I don't know how many years ago, I decided that life was too short. I think the book, The Goldfinch, might have been the one that threw me over the edge, because I got to page 500, 550, and I'm like, what the hell is happening here? Is there any sort of redemption associated with the main character? So I read the last couple chapters, which, if you paid attention to any of my videos where I've talked about books, you will know that this is something that I do. I hit a certain point, I want to read the last couple chapters, and then I decide if I'm going to keep going. Well, with Goldfinch, I decided that I didn't need to keep going. And so there were 3 books this past couple months. Listen Slowly, Unapologetically Ambitious, and Sourdough, which is unfortunate because I read something else by the author of Sourdough. I didn't finish them. I decided not to. I also write up reader guides or discussion guides, and it really is less about opportunity to discuss and really just kind of hoping to provide something to be thought-provoking. Or let's say you put together your own book club and you want to have some questions about some of the books. I just put together reader guides, and I put them out on Medium on my blog, Terri Hansen Mead. We also have a Discord server, so if you want to talk about the book, type about the book, you can join the Discord server. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description so that you can get access to that. And where else do I put that out? We have a Facebook group for Piloting Your Life, and I'll go ahead and put a link into that as well. I'll go ahead and accept you as a member if you want to talk about any of the books. I was going to do live conversations, and then I decided between time zones, and I just didn't want to. So that's where we're talking about them. But some of them that have been totally surprising, I was on Audible. I'm just going to flip my page so that I talk about the right ones. So on Audible, one of the books that was recommended was From Scratch, and I really enjoyed it. It was autobiographical. Now I should have written, I think it's Tembie Locke is the author of it, and it was delightful. I knew nothing about her. Her husband died from cancer, and it talked about her being married as an American, as a black woman, an American, married to an Italian man who was from Sicily, and basically their journey. And it was beautiful. It was about love, and it was about loss, but it was about family and connections and food and so much more. I highly recommend that if you like Audible or audiobooks, definitely check it out. Her Italian is beautiful. I don't speak Italian, but it sounds absolutely beautiful. And I just really, really liked the story. It was a very nice distraction. And my heart just felt fuller as a result of it. I mean, I was devastated for her loss, but so much good came out of it that it ended up being not so bad after all, although she wouldn't say that. Another one that was really interesting was a book called Arctic Fury. And I was surprised that I liked this. It was about some women in the 1800s who went on a journey to find some men who were lost, and they ventured north, and it resulted in some people dying and a court case, essentially a wrongful death kind of court case, and it ended up being very interesting. I liked the perspective of an adventure and explorers who were women at a time when women weren't really very much valued or appreciated. So recommend checking out Arctic Fury. One of the others, oh my gosh, The Business of Lovers by Eric Jerome Dickey. This one I heard about on Clubhouse. I was in a room, I think they were talking about the book The Vanishing Half, which I also really, really liked. And I thought, well, let me go ahead and check it out. The women in the room, I think I was the only white woman in the room. The other women were black. And they talked about how they really enjoyed reading a book by a black man author about a black man's experience that wasn't about race. And I read it, the first time I started to read it, I just couldn't get into the characters, but I think I was just in the wrong headspace. And then I went ahead and I finished the book and I was like, how did I not get into it? So then I immediately reread it and I loved all the characters. I loved the food scenes. I loved the sex scenes. So warning, if you don't like good sex scenes, don't read this book. If you do, go ahead and read this book. But it really was interesting to just read about these brothers and these women, and I highly recommend checking it out. I'm going to check out some other books by him, but look at the reader guide, and then after you read the book, and then let me know what you think of some of the questions, and if you think that I should have some different questions in there, and I'll go ahead and put a link to that in the description as well. Another fun one was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and apparently this book is based on a series of famous actresses, but not one in particular. And I love that the main character, Evelyn Hugo, was a strong woman, and she really evolved throughout the book as she talked about her life, because she was trying to have this other woman write about her life. And there's definitely a twist at the end. It's a fun book. It's a super easy read and pretty thought-provoking. So definitely recommend Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. On the nonfiction front, there's a book called The Big Friendship, and I love this book. It's by two friends. I heard about them, I think, on NPR or maybe on a podcast. And it talks about how we should be spending more time focused on our friendships as much as we do any of our romantic relationships. And what's interesting about the dynamics of the two authors, one is a white woman and one is a black woman, and race does come into play in this, which I find absolutely fascinating. And I also like that they talk about it and it's up front and center. The book has made me rethink my friendships and the way that I approach my friendships. And in it, it talks about how we should be saying I love you to my friends. And so I am trying to say I love you to my friends so that they know how much I love and appreciate them. So really, if you're looking for a nonfiction book and about friendship, highly recommend checking it out. The last one I'm going to talk about is The Vanishing Half. I related to this one because it's about some twin sisters. But it's also about two black women who are sisters who could be seen. They're from a small town in the South where it is the pride of the black people there that they are very light-skinned and they can pass as white. And yet both the twins, one decides to embrace being black, and one of them decides to continue to pretend to be white and establish their own lives. And it's fascinating. I was really hung up on the twin part of it because I have a difficult relationship with my identical twin. And so it was really interesting talking with the same women on Clubhouse about their perspective and reading it. None of them were twins, but all of them were black women. So it was, I loved having that conversation with the women on Clubhouse, and I especially loved being able to provide a different perspective from an identical twin perspective. But really a very interesting book that I highly recommend. But I want to know from you, what are you reading? What should I be reading? What can I add to the list? Right now, the book that I have for April is, what's it called? Sometimes You Have to Lie, and it's about Louise Fitzhugh, who is the author behind Harriet the Spy. So if you're around my age, you know the book Harriet the Spy, and I knew nothing about her. So this too is a nonfiction for April, and I appreciate the recommendation from the Badass Woman's Book Club. But I want to know, what else should we be reading? I think I'm going to be reading more probably coming up, and I want more ideas. So drop some suggestions in the comment or go ahead and email me at pilotingyourlife@gmail.com. Finn, what are you reading right now?
I'm reading A Gentleman in Moscow.
Oh, one of my favorites.
And...
Wait, this is your first time reading this book. What do you think?
It's interesting.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah. No, I like What's Her Bucket in the Yellow Dress.
Yeah.
She's cute.
So what else are you reading? You're reading some Edgar Allan Poe.
Yeah, I've got a short story collection of Edgar Allan Poe. I've got... I mean, The Tempest is kind of on the back burner.
Okay.
I have, like, too many books going on right now.
Yeah, and you've got a pretty heavy workload school-wise, too.
Yeah, I'm not reading very much these days.
Yeah. So, anyway, I think that's it for the book club, the book review. If you're interested, I'll go ahead and drop links in the description so you can get access to the reader guides, the Discord server, and maybe even the Facebook group. And would love to figure out, do you want to talk about books? Because if you do, then let me know and I will try to arrange for something. It's it needs to be really low key. So with that, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And as always, let go of perfection, take some risks, and above all else, have some fun.